Call to order the Town Commission meeting of March 12th. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please call the roll.
Mayor Tompeck,
Here.
Vice Mayor Fender,
Here.
Commissioner Kurzman,
Yes.
Commissioner Mayfield.
Here.
Okay, we have no proclamations or presentations. We have 3 public comments, and they're all on 11A, so I guess I will hold them till we get to 11A. Are there any additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda?
Nope.
I'll make a motion to move it.
I'll second.
Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Fender,
Aye.
Commissioner Kurzman,
Yes.
Commissioner Mayfield,
Yes.
Mayor Tompeck.
Yes. That brings us down to the consent agenda. Any comments?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Kurzman,
Yes.
Commissioner Mayfield,
Yes.
Mayor Tompeck,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fender.
Aye.
Okay, we do have a public hearing on ordinance number 458, amending land development regulations, development review process. Would the town attorney please read the ordinance title into the record?
An ordinance of the ordinance number 458, an ordinance of the Town Commission of the Town of Sewell's Point, Florida, amending the land development regulations, chapters 30, 46, 54, 78, and 82, to remove conflicting language, update and streamline the development review process, provide for administrative approvals, remove references to preliminary plans, remove references to major and minor site plans, provide for severability, and providing for the repeal of all conflicting ordinances, codification, and an effective date.
Thank you. Do we have any comments from the public? Seeing none, any commission discussion? Might want to pass on to the folks in attendance. We just looked at this one about half an hour ago at the LPA, so we've already gone through a lot of the details, but if there's any other questions, we'll certainly entertain them now. Vice Mayor Fender.
Just clarification, this is first reading.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve. Ordinance number 458.
I'll second.
Please call the roll. I'm
Any
sorry, is
quick
there
discussion?
any additional discussion items?
Just want to put into the record the conversation we had about investigation of the tree mitigation issue.
Okay, thank you. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Mayfield,
Yes.
Mayor Tompeck,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fender,
Aye.
Commissioner Kurzman.
Yes.
Okay, that brings us down to, we have no resolutions and no old business. So that brings us to new business, and it's 11A, and it's grant approval request. We do have some public comments. Bonnie Flint?
Thank you. Good evening, Bonnie Flint. I've prepared some remarks along with Frank Titicus, so I think I'll give my 3 minutes to him. Okay? Thank you.
I appreciate it, Bonnie, and good evening, Mayor Tompeck, Commissioners Fender, Kurzman, and Mayfield. My name is Frank Titicus. I reside at 12 Crane's Nest, and I'd like to comment on the grant approval process or lack thereof. First of all, Mr. Daniel stated the preference for approval is to have the grant writer submit a draft of the application and have the Town Commission vote and approve the grant at that time. And I wholeheartedly endorse that policy, as it allows the staff to do an in-depth review of the application, and it also allows the public to review and comment on the application. However, I do disagree with the second part of the paragraph that says, in the instances that the time frame is short, the approval vote can be held when the town is informed that we're awarded the grant in question. And here are the reasons why. I went back and I looked at the grants in the grant log for the last 3 years. And, you know, it just goes to show you I don't have anything better to do with my time. But I think that the time frame should be defined. The commission meets twice a month, and the time in between the identification of available grant and the preparation of the application and the submittal should be minimal and not become routine. The grant log is inaccurate. Not reflected in the grant log and approved by the commission the 15th of November on 2022, there were 3 grants. Department of Emergency Management for a road, South Sewell's Point Road, and sewers for $2 million each. The commission approved the submission. However, there are no copies and they're not reflected in the grant log. At the August 15th meeting in 2004, 3 grants were approved for submission. And 2 of the grants were appended to the agenda, but the 3rd was not. The IRL grant program in South River Road was listed at $2.5 million with no application attached, and it's now reflected in the grant log at $4 million. Is it the same grant? If it's the same grant, why are there no dates of due or submittal for the grants? And that's not in the log. For the legislative appropriate grants, there was no discussion or approval at the November meeting of 2023 here, yet at the same time it's in the log. And then in addition to that, the applications contain errors. And I mean, I've got 2 pages of errors that I can provide for you, but just these are some examples. The septic to sewer grant application for $4 million was rife with errors. It stated that all 706 homes would be connected, whereas the commission only authorized option 1, phase 1 of the CapTech report. The total project cost for the 706 connections was listed as $16.8 million. The nitrogen reductions were projected at 29 pounds per home, which is in conflict with other submittals. So, I mean, you know, I don't know who's doing the calculations, but you would think that they would be consistently applied. It also stated that there are 706 homes within 200 meters of a water body, whereas from Hillcrest to Kingston, there's a strip of land between 113 and 193 meters wide that don't meet that assertion. And I didn't bother to count the number of houses that was in that strip, but there are a fair number. And then the South River Road Stormwater Improvements application states that we're in the Central Indian River Lagoon BMAP. We're not. The western portion of our community is in the St. Lucie River BMAP. And we are in the clean north segment of the South Indian River Lagoon, which is not a BMAP. And also the projected nitrogen reductions don't match other applications. And in addition, the Department of Environmental Protection data reports that Sewell's Point nutrient contribution to the Indian River Lagoon is minimal. You can't have it both ways. The Arbor Day grant, the memo put out by Mr. Daniels says that we're asking for $20,000. The grant log says $2,000. That's a pretty big difference. And I realize that a zero slipped somewhere along the line. So my suggestion is we slow down the approval process. Let's get it right the first time. Allow time for citizen review, because there are a number of citizens out there that are very familiar with the process and the numbers and can point out where there are some errors, and have the log be an accurate reflection of what you've approved, submitted, or withdrawn. Thank you.
Thanks, Frank. Vinnie Burrill?
Pass on it. Sister has said every word that I would say.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Daniels, go ahead.
As you have in front of you, I wanted to discuss the grant process and the approval process, so it's formalized. We looked at, obviously, as discussions that we've had on this body is to get the grants in front of you as quickly as we can. We have to realize that sometimes there are time frame issues. So I guess if you would like to take the advice of Frank, we could turn around and just walk away from those grants because, it's impossible to get them in front of you. I'll take exception with the grant log. The grant log is issued by a different party, and it's included as part of the discussion piece. It's not prepared by my office. I stand by the information that I bring forward to you and asking for approvals. I did find out today that the grant that we were putting in for the Arbor Day celebration is no longer available, and so we can look at that for next year. So I did want to have a discussion, although it's not really pertinent to this, but maybe using some of our tree funds and maybe scaling back the number of trees that we're going to get to maybe utilize like $9,000 out of our tree fund so we can supply the trees for planting and distribution, at least to the first X number of residents that we can afford to have give out the trees. So the other item that I have, and I just received an email late yesterday, and I saw it today, was on it's listed as a grant, but it is the appropriation, and I also need to correct Frank, because the appropriations are approved by this body as part of our legislative agenda. And so it gets confusing because we do the legislative agenda and we have an ask in there for an appropriation. So I would never go forward with that if this body did not approve that. And in this case, it's going to get even more confusing when you look at a grant log, because you're going to see a grant from DOT for $1 million, which is last year's appropriation. And technically, it's not a grant, but the state assigns those to different departments that they feel are approved. So I have the contract for that agreement, which will be on the agenda for the next meeting. Normally, we sign those, but I want to make sure, again, in full transparency, and I think I've been transparent with the commission, and maybe you didn't give a formal approval on some things, and that's my fault. I'll be the first one to say that. I haven't brought it before you on the agenda, but it's not that you haven't known and the residents haven't known about the grant process. So, but that's kind of what I'm asking tonight, is to take a look at the grants that we've asked for, and the $2.75 million is an increase. I think supplied in your packet should be the memo that they are giving us that 2.75. Technically, it's a funding increase from a grant we already have, and that you all have approved for Phase 3. And as you know, we've been trying to find money elsewhere for the increased cost in Phase 3. So, but I'm bringing it out, again, in an effort to be transparent, so there's no issue when you all look at a grant sheet or whatever. Obviously, those are things that I want to make sure that nobody can come back later and say I'm not transparent. We also have a funding request out there for Phase 2, which again, we've brought up before, and it's been on several sheets that we're trying to increase, but technically I have not brought that additional funding request back to you all, and we haven't heard anything on it. The South River Road Grant, the resiliency, they haven't made any awards out of that. There is a confusion that we get into because it's an IRL grant, Indian River Lagoon grant, but it's not from the Indian Lagoon Council. And it's from DEP, but because of the way the governor packaged the program, it's called an IRL grant. But I haven't been able to track that down. So basically, I'm just asking for those grants that we know we have applied for or asked for more money for a particular grant. I just want to make sure in all transparency that I bring it up again and ask for your approval again.
Okay, any discussion? Commissioner Mayfield.
Yes. I want to say that overall, I think the town has improved a lot in this whole process of getting the grant information out there, approving it, and and town manager, you could correct me if I'm wrong, or the people that have been here a while, but a lot of this is due to the major project we're undertaking that is a huge project that I don't think Sewell's Point has ever done before to that magnitude, and it's super expensive, it's super large, and it's super important. And the way we pay for it to help keep taxes down is through these grants. And so I think it's super important that we get the grants and so that we can finish these important projects. So I think you're doing a good job, town manager, putting this out there and saying, the goal would be, yes, get them all out there, get it approved, give as much information as you can, but I also want us to be nimble to get the money to keep our taxes down. Otherwise, the options are raise taxes to pay for it or don't do the project. And I think the project is too important for the resiliency of Sewell's Point to not do. So I just want to give that background that this is why we have all this crazy stuff going on. And so I think that the town is somewhat learning as it goes to do all this. And we're a small organization, and I think that Joe and the town manager and everyone and Chloe have worked really hard to try to make this work to keep everybody content and achieve the projects that we need. So I think you've done a good job, and there's always room for improvement, but I would definitely be in favor of approving these grants. Look at the recommendation. Yes, approve the above listed grant funding and applications, the request and application.
Commissioner Kurzman.
Yes, I'm going to agree a lot with what Kaya said. Sometimes you don't have a lot of time with these grants. They're there. If you don't take it right then, you lose it. And this town can't afford to do any of these projects without these grants. Matter of fact, we can't afford to do anything without the grants. We're going to basically flood, as we've been doing, and major part, that's what started all this, was we were flooding. People were complaining, I don't want to drive through salt water to go home anymore. I don't want to drive up River Road anymore when I come into the neighborhood. My car stalled out. Over and over, we heard all these different stories, and our phones lit up as commissioners. We got emails. We got a lot of more calls even. We had people coming up to the mic, and what we did is we went out and got these grants. There's no way in hell we could afford any of these without a grant. Nothing of this would ever happen. We don't take in enough money, and we don't want to raise taxes to do this. And we've been doing a great job keeping it with the grants. We've had help from outside sources that we need, and a lot of times we have to be very spontaneous. There's just no way around it. And we're also going to have to maintain these projects as we come along too. So there's going to be we have a long ways to go, but you can't stop something when you've already started in the middle of it. You got to keep going, and we're approaching it aggressively. We have to. We don't want to go and pass on tax increases to residents. I'd rather have the grants pay for it, and I think the town manager's done a great job communicating all around right now, and especially as of late. Right now, we're getting emails every week, and I've heard nothing but praise of the communication that we've been given. Unfortunately, there was a typo, but, in some cases, but overall, anybody could make a mistake, but a lot of times things just happen, and it has to move along with a faster pace, especially with everything in session for that while. We didn't have a lot of time to make a lot of decisions, but it was run by the commission as a whole. That's it.
Thank you.
I guess I'm struggling with this a little bit because I personally agree with some of the, the comments that were made during the public comment period. These, when these grants pop up, they don't pop up and say, well, we need the application here in the next 6 days. Okay, a lot of times, matter of fact, in all cases, these grants are 2, 3, 4 months in advance of when the application must be submitted. Now, I don't think anybody here would say, hey, don't submit a grant at the last minute because the commission hasn't seen it. That's a dangerous thing to do. You don't want to potentially lose some money. But I think there's ample time for these to be developed and reviewed properly, and I think we need to maybe put a little more pressure on our grant writer and Joe and CapTech, because CapTech, puts most of the meat in the application comes from Captech. And I know he's busy, but we should be able to get these applications to review prior to a last-minute rush. And they always seem to be a last-minute rush. And I don't understand why it has to be that way. As far as what you want us to approve tonight, I guess we can approve it. The horse is already out of the barn, the way I look at it. So I don't think I have any objection, but I don't think it's absolutely necessary. So. Commissioner Mayfield.
Yes, I think I said before that I support it, but I would make a motion to approve the above listed grant increased funding requests and grant applications.
Okay, so you made a motion?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any additional comments or discussion? Please call the roll.
Mayor Tompeck,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fender,
Aye.
Commissioner Kurzman,
Yes.
Commissioner Mayfield.
Yes.
In general, I think, now the session's over and, we're kind of sorting out what happened at session. I think it'd be a good idea for us to maybe kind of review the entire process in the not-too-distant future. Okay, that brings us up to discussion items, Summer Commission meeting schedule. Mr. Daniels.
Yes, basically in communication with our clerk, we've looked historically, I guess, what we did last year in reference to the schedule, and I was just trying to pull it up. For some reason, I'm missing it. But I think you all have it in the packet, and so I'm not tying you all up, but basically, we looked at the summer because there's certain things we have to get done, obviously, with the budget to get approved. But if we plan ahead, then hopefully the commissioners can plan ahead on their schedules. And if you already have a conflict with something, we can. And kind of what we did last year was we looked at the meeting dates and then went ahead and had we kind of moved the two, instead of having two meetings in July, and I think the other one was in August, and I think now we're looking at doing this in June and July, but we moved the dates to the center part of the month. So we basically, the agendas might be a little bit fuller, depending on what we need to cover in those 2 months, but we're basically looking at the 18th of June and the 16th of July, and then basically the meeting schedule that we have in August and September. The September meetings are really the big critical ones that we need to have all of you here because we deal with setting the millage rate, and that has to be done in a certain process. So we just can't arbitrarily set a date to do the millage rate hearing because we have to wait for the school board and the county commission to set their dates that they're doing, and then our budget meetings and our meetings for the millage rate can be, set. So we're kind of proposing those, but for the most part, I think the summer meeting schedule is the ones on the 18th and the 16th. So I guess, what's your preference that you'd like to do?
Commissioner Mayfield.
I think that the schedule looks good unless there is a ton of stuff going on in June and July. We do have a couple of vacations planned, but those dates work for me, and if there need to be more meetings, we could always add them, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm okay with the calendar as it stands.
Same here.
Okay.
Well, we probably need to have a motion to adopt these dates so they can officially go into the record with the clerk.
I'll make a motion to adopt the 2024 commission meeting calendar per the agenda.
I'll second.
Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Fender,
Aye.
Commissioner Kurzman,
Yes.
Commissioner Mayfield,
Yes.
Mayor Tompeck.
Yes. And that brings us to the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget calendar.
Again, I'm sorry, may I?
Please do.
This just kind of gives you an idea of the process that we're going to be following with dealing with the grants. I always try, as we did last year, to break out some of the parts, so, you know, you don't have to sit at one meeting and go through the whole budget. But, you know, usually we try to take the capital projects out first and go through those because, you know, they work on a 5-year schedule. So we can kind of see where we're at time frame wise with the current schedule, and then look to see what projects we might have to add at the latter part of the 5 years. So, so I just wanted to, you know, bring it forward to you, just as a point of discussion, what those dates are, and I'll make sure that these dates match up with the dates now that we just set for the commission for the summer schedule. And then, oh, I'm sorry. I guess you want me to go to C? I'm on a
No,
roll
let's
here.
see if, do you want to
Okay.
call the roll on the budget calendar? Is there any questions or discussion or a motion to, well, got it listed here if you want to, you can.
Yeah, might as well.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget calendar fiscal year 2025.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Kurzman?
Yes.
Commissioner Mayfield?
Yes.
Mayor Tompeck?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fender?
Aye.
Okay, that brings us to the addendum item on tonight's meetings, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, South Florida Ecosystem Restoration. Mr. Daniels?
Yes, last Wednesday, I went to coffee with the commissioner for, Commissioner Doug Smith, had it up at the Jensen Beach Community Center, and there was a presentation in reference to the restoration work that's being done by the Corps and in hand with the South Florida Water Management District. So I just found it interesting, so I wanted to supply the slides with you all, and maybe, depending on how our schedule goes with some of the meetings, but maybe see, it was, I think it's Eva Velez, I'm sorry, was the speaker, and she seemed very educated in what the plans are, what the Corps is accomplishing right now, and what they plan to accomplish within the next 5 years. So I know, you know, we always are interested in, you know, the discharges and so forth and how they affect us, but I was surprised that even one of the plans is in effect right now, where they're loading a reservoir and then the water's going to go through an STA, and so hopefully we'll see some improvement in our environment.
I'd sure like to have her come in and do this presentation. It's, you know, I'm an engineer, I'm not sure I understand a lot of this, so it'd be nice to get it clarified for us, and any additional information that we have or that we understand is certainly great to have, because we get a lot of questions from other folks, so, yeah, if you could ask her to come in and make a presentation, I'd be appreciative of that.
Her presentation lasted about an hour. So is your preference to have it at a regular meeting, or would you like to do a special workshop to have her come in? It's totally up to how you want to handle it.
I think my preference would be a regular meeting, but a slightly condensed
Okay,
version.
Yeah, can we get the 20-minute version?
okay. I will do my best.
I mean, if it's, you know, if it's a meeting that has nothing on the agenda, obviously we can,
Well, if we don't have Joe on the agenda, we can,
something like that.
I'm only kidding.
Okay, any other comments on that? I assume you'd like to hear it as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, great.
And just under discussion, if I can continue, since I've got a captive audience, we did have 8 sessions for our stormwater master plan public hearings, which were basically scheduled with different blocks of the town, but it was really open at any block, and I think the CapTech group and you know, Terry and Craig, you guys really have all done a great job, so I appreciate it.
All right, is there any additional staff comments?
I think I'm done.
Okay. Commission comments.
Oh.
Very quiet group tonight.
We are.
Okay. Are you about to press the button or not?
I was thinking about it, I might not, I'm not sure.
Well, if not, I'm going to adjourn the meeting.
Okay, you can adjourn.
No, please. You have anything you want to add?
Not this year.
Just do it.
I was just going to say that I attended the Brightline contract signing last Monday, and so if anyone doesn't know, I can't imagine anyone doesn't, who's not living under a rock, that they've identified the location of the station in Stewart, and Stewart won over Fort Pierce, obviously. And so it was a well-attended and well-media-covered event on Monday morning at the parking lot behind the courthouse between Ernst and Produce and the lumber yard, East Coast Lumber. So it looks like in 2 years, that's where the new Brightline station is going to be.
And it sounded like that was kind of an expedited schedule for it to get done in 2 years, right?
I'm not sure how expedited it was, but it's not tomorrow. It's 2
Okay.
years from now, yeah. Yeah, it would probably be a big project.
Be interesting. And they're also going to be building a hotel at that location or somewhere.
Oh,
around
is that
there,
right?
By Colorado, on Colorado, yeah.
Okay.
Off of Colorado. You know where that little plat of land is next to that plaza that has Fruits and Roots?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That little area.
Really? In that same location?
I thought it was just one in that location. Maybe there's another one elsewhere.
Wow, cool.
I think there's one on US 1, and then there's one on Colorado.
Yeah.
Is that the two that you're,
Okay, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion made.
We're
All
adjourned.
right, 6:30.